this is to answer a specific question that somebody asked me. I've had it asked before. It has to do, again, with the way I was trained, which may be different from a lot of ways people have been trained before. I had some very different teachers, let me tell you. That's not to say they were bad. They were excellent at what they did. They taught me how to shoot. They could teach anybody how to shoot. The question was, what's that thing you do when you present yourself to the target? You look like you're at the target, but then you close your eyes. And it's a trick. I'm going to teach you. It's easy. It's worked great for my kids. They've learned how to shoot pretty well. Again, with dry firing the rifle, there is no ammunition. So don't get on me about that, YouTube. Thanks. Pull the rifle up. I'm in my shoulder. I've got my big fat cheek on there. Chipmunk style. I'm going to close the bolt just because it's the way I put my hand. I wrap my hand around the bolt. I know not everybody does that. Some people will hold their rifle out here, some out here, some out here. Whatever works for you. With my body type and the way that my back is busted up in a million pieces, I can't get my elbow on my hip. If I could do that, I'd be in the friggin' circus. This is the best stance that I can get. I'm focused in on what I would have be the target. And now, why do I close my eyes before I do that? Well, what I'm doing is I'm closing my eyes, relaxing all of my muscles. There should be no muscle movement, no muscle to hold this gun up. It's being held on the skeletal structure, on the bones. The weight's being transferred back into my ribs. This is what's holding my gun up. Not my muscles, not my biceps, not my wrist, the muscles in my wrist. The weight transfers directly down. Everything's locked. I've been practicing a lot for a lot of years, so everything just goes down automatic. I put my hand around here only because it's the most comfortable thing for me to do, where the balance point of this rifle is. I have just a tiny bit of weight, a tiny percentage of the weight, pushing a little bit forward and down into my ribs. So if I'm looking at that target, I close my eyes, I give it a little wobble, exhale. Everything's nice and relaxed, except for the fact that I'm talking. If I'm not on that target, or very, very close to it, when I open my eyes and look through that reticle, I'm going to move. I'm not going to move the gun back and forth to try to acquire that target. I am a big, stiff machine. Think of yourself like a tank or a howitzer even, probably a better thing to think of, a field gun. That gun is stiff and solid. This is my hold. I'm going to move my back foot to the back, to the side. I'm going to move this way, side to side. I'm going to move that back foot back and forth to change my elevation. This changes my elevation down. This changes my elevation up. I'm being really exaggerated so it looks okay on the video. My front foot is really never going to move except maybe to pivot it back and forth on the balls of my feet. That front foot stays solid. And I pivot to acquire the target, pivot to acquire the target. Also, good thing to know if you're going to do hunting, you're not really going to hunt in this kind of position offhand, but it's the same kind of idea. You want that natural position where your target is to be. Close your eyes, open them again, look through the reticle. If the target that you're looking for is not in that reticle, you need to move. Do not move the gun, move your body. That relaxed, natural position is where your skeletal structure wants to point that rifle. You start moving this, you start inputting this way, inputting that way, you are inputting muscle into the gun rather than skeletal structure. And you're not going to hit something because your muscles twitch. Your bones don't twitch, your muscles twitch. All right, beyond the target, and squeeze the trigger and hold it back. Hold that trigger to the back. Do not video game with that trigger. Do not video game with the trigger. Do I have to say it again? Don't video game the trigger. You make the shot. you squeeze the trigger and hold it to the back. Video gaming with the trigger means while the rifle is still in use, while the bullet is still traveling through the barrel, from the chamber out the barrel, you do one of these, you're throwing your shot off. When you're talking about something that's as precise as Silhouette, you throw that barrel off a few millimeters here, it's a miss. You've got that, your finger on the trigger. And that's another thing you got to work on when you're dry firing. You're going to work on watching your crosshairs, watching your reticle, watching your iron sight, if you're doing iron sight, cowboy shooting or something like that. Watching to make sure that the position that you have your hand in, when you pull that trigger, that reticle moves almost not at all. If anything, what you want anything to do is you want to pull to the back and just pull that, finger pressure. Use that finger pressure. You're just pulling straight back. You don't want it up. You don't want it down. If you're mishandling your trigger, you're going to pull them all low left. You're going to pull them all high right, depending on how you've got your wrist turned, and that you don't have this last digit interface. The portion of your finger that you want to interface the trigger is this last part, this last digit right here where it bends. Right where that bends, that's what you want on the trigger. Hopefully I can get a good shot with this. Right there, wrapped around, and just that pulling the trigger straight back. Now this trigger does not even need to move much on this particular rifle. That's the way I have it set up. And you're just watching that trigger, you're just watching the movement through the crosshairs while you're dry firing on that white circle. So there's no movement. You hold your trigger right, you pull that trigger back correctly, you're much more likely, you're increasing your percentage of a hit. Every little thing we do is to increase the percentage of a hit. With other kinds of shooting, somebody asked me a 3-gun match, well, why the hell do you reload? Because we're just throwing, lead on the target. Well, if I reload, I know I've got reloads. Well, for one thing, it's cheaper, and I don't have any money. But if I know I'm using good ammunition that's more accurate, because I'm making it more accurate than factory ammunition, well, I know I have an increased percentage to hit the target. And it shows when I shoot the rifle. I may not be great at shotgun. I'm okay with pistol, but I can shoot the rifle. Now, it's the same thing if we're talking about a small bore, where we go through that whole process of matching the ammunition to the rifle barrel, to this particular rifle. No two 22s are the same. I've covered that on some of my other videos, getting the right ammunition for the right rifle. But the same thing with your dry fire practice, controlling that trigger. Any time we can lower the percentage of a miss, because we have all the environmental factors of, it could be a range you're not used to. The surface could be cement, which you're not used to. The surface could be dirt, which you're not used to, because maybe you shoot at a fancy range that has a nice cement floor. You go to another range for a match. Even I've been to a national championship match where the ground was completely gravel. It was awesome because that's what I was used to. That might not be good for everybody else. Anytime we can reduce the percentage of a miss, if you can pick up that 1 or 2 extra targets because you've been practicing the right way, well, that could be the difference between, third place and second place, the difference between a win and, just going home.